value to a founder is EBITDA times multiple minus taxes. And where we see, and we see this often because we do a lot of buy side work as well, we see leakage across all of those. First of all, a lot of times business owners, they don't do a seller's quality of earnings. That means they're not marketing their fully loaded EBITDA. And so someone might say, well, I have a 600,000 or I have a 1 million, 2 million EBITDA business. And then we go in and do the quality of earnings. There's actually more EBITDA. We recently sold a business that was 1 million. The owner thought he had a million EBITDA, and we came back and said there's actually 1.7. Thank goodness we were on the sell side, so we helped him market a 1.7 million EBITDA business. But if we were on the buy side, he could have gotten a really good multiple on 1 million EBITDA, and the buyer would have known that there's actually another, 500,000 sitting there just for their picking. So number one, sellers don't do their own quality of earnings, and they end up marketing a lower EBITDA without even knowing it. The second one is they sell at a low multiple. I think sellers try to do their homework and they go around asking, well, I'm at this stage, I'm in this industry, I have 3 million EBITDA. Like, what's my value? And whether it's an investment banker or a lawyer or a friend, colleague, they'll say, oh, yeah, that should be, 7 to 8 times, or that should be a 10 times multiple. The reality is, when people quote multiples in generality, it's usually more of like an average or a median. Now you see, big public companies trading in the market, but when they get sold, someone will pay a 30% premium on top of the prevailing stock price. So there is such a thing as an M&A premium. And when someone is just comfortable with that average multiple quoted in the market, they're not really maximizing their valuation. And so time and again, we see that when a very competitive process is run and the seller is able to find the best fit buyer, a buyer that appreciates what they've built, the geography, their customer base, their technology, and so forth, that buyer is willing to pay a premium. And that's where they get an outsized multiple. So a lot of times they don't have an advisor. They just take someone that's willing to offer that median average multiple. And that's where there's a lot of leakage as well. And lastly, I'll go back to my point about taxes. Very few sellers prepare for taxes in advance of an exit. And I think that's because they don't engage any advisors until they're ready to sell. And at that point, there's not much they can do. And I think qualified small business stock is a case in point. So if any client comes to us and says they're looking to sell in 3 to 5 years, we always suggest that they consider Section 1202 qualified small business stock, because that means they could save on 10 million or more in their capital gains taxes. It's a huge needle mover. It means that the seller is going to keep millions more in their pocket when the transaction is done. So again, there's leakage across all fronts when we look at sellers exiting their business. Oftentimes, especially when the buy side, we say, okay, we're interested in acquiring a company. Can you share your financials? And they will just export the financials from their QuickBooks or Xero, whatever platform they're using, and they'll share those financials with the buyer. And now I like to call that the here's my data, you figure it out strategy. And as I always like to say, facts tell, stories sell. And that goes the same with your financials. You don't want to just give them the facts and let them figure it out, because trust me, if the buyer's figuring it out, they're not going to be as bullish about your financials as you are.